Hello, it's Freda. Odds are, if you're watching this video, you watched my last video, in which case, I feel like I need to correct a few things. So, I put out a video on the changes that have been confirmed so far in Crusader Kings 3, and some speculation and so forth. That video, so far, is the most viewed video of its kind, and is recommended directly after the trailer for CK3. Almost said CK2 there. That means that what I say will potentially shape the conversation around the game. And to me, that is a pretty big responsibility. In the video, I spent about 20 minutes talking about various features and theory crafting and stuff. However, judging from the comments, the one thing that seems to, mostly have resonated with the commenters is the Deus Vult thing. Now, in the RockPaperShotgun interview that I sourced from my previous video, the interviewer claimed the words Deus Vult will not appear in the game. To those that are not in the know, Deus Vult, or Deus Vult, as it would probably be pronounced in classical Latin, is a Latin phrase that somewhat translates to God wills it. That phrase saw use as a battle cry during the First Crusade and during the Siege of Jerusalem in 1099, so it's become this sort of like emblematic symbol of the Crusades in sort of history meme culture and whatnot from then on. Or well, from like a couple of years ago. Now, a lot of people were outraged about the change, and I'll show you the actual original interview here. This is the part of the RockPaperShotgun interview that discusses the actual change. And yeah, you see there, the 11th century Crusader battle cry and whatnot. Now, this has since been updated by RockPaperShotgun. So, instead of just saying this, they've also added the words of Henrik Forehus, the game director on Crusader Kings 3, which you will see right here, where Henrik Forehus says that a decision whether something like the phrase Deus Vult will appear in the game has not yet been made, so we don't necessarily know if the game will include that phrase yet. The dev team apparently don't know yet, because they haven't really taken a stance on it yet. So there seems to have been some sort of miscommunication between the interviewer and the interviewee, which is a thing that can happen several times, or can happen often in journalism. Something to be expected, really. However, I would appreciate it if RockPaperShotgun made this update a bit more clear, potentially like putting, updated or something in the headline, because currently this is sort of buried in the middle of the article. Not really boldened or anything, like update isn't boldened, just underneath a point that people have probably already read. And likely won't read again. So that's kind of problematic, in my opinion. Now, for my personal take on all this, I honestly couldn't care less whether the game keeps the original Latin phrase, or an English translation, or some other appropriate term taken from, the Crusades or whatever. I've heard a lot of the arguments and the takes from the whole spectrum for why, changing it would be bad, or why people don't prefer, don't want it changed, or why people would like it changed. And while I sympathize with a lot of the arguments, I don't necessarily agree with all of them. Especially, for example, the one regarding censorship of history. As someone with a degree in history, and who's working towards another one, that argument doesn't really resonate with me. And at least not in this, this exact circumstance. That's my personal take, though. You don't necessarily have to agree with it. Now, hopefully, this little update video will clear up some confusion, will temper the outrage a little bit, and potentially correct the narrative. I'm interested in hearing your takes on this. If this was a massive blunder on RockPaperShotgun's front, if Paradox should have been clearer in communicating this, if this should have been news at all. Because in my opinion, it probably shouldn't have been, because it's kind of like a minor thing. Like, we can fix this immediately, probably on day one, with a simple, .txt file change. Now, when sharing your takes on this in the comments, please, for the love of God, Allah, Odin, or whomever you prefer, keep it civil. I will be reading all the comments, because I read all of them. Often I hit the heart button to indicate that I've read something, even if I can't respond to it, so that you know. But yeah, please keep my sanity in mind before you post. Thank you. Now, if you're interested in more of my content, please check out my Twitch channel, where we play other strategy games, procedural storytelling games in the vein of Crusader Kings, and chat back and forth about history and all kinds of dumb shit. Mostly dumb shit, I think. Anyways, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.